What's up everyone, I'm Adrian, a man with no possessions, which I'll explain. And this is Rona TV's weekend recap, a stripped down version. I'm actually sitting at a desk, like a news anchor, with some nice crickets in the background. Wanna hear? Alright, so, two things. I'm moving in 2 days from here to here. Big move, so there will be only about 2 videos this week while I go through that process. I'm sure you can imagine it's a little bit difficult to work at the same time. And if you still want to get in contact with me, the best way to do so / interact with me and tell me how much you love Adelta or whatever is through Twitter. The comment section is difficult to follow, especially when I'm on the move like that, and more likely than not your comment could get missed. So if it's important, hit me up on Twitter. Alright, let's all say thank you to the sponsors of the weekend recap, OneFootball. OneFootball hits you with the breaking news the fastest regarding your favorite competitions, teams, and players that you can customize your newsfeed around. Plus, live scores, live updates, highlights, and more. Use the link in the description for a free download on the platform of your choosing, iOS or Android, and support the channel. They're gonna start a new Adrian's News Desk segment on there. That's not true. Alright, Premier League to start. And the London Derby seems like a good place to do just that. Arsenal versus Tottenham, fast and frantic start that never really let up with the chances flying in both directions. Namely in Arsenal's favour, I'd say, though when Spurs did attack, they forced a decent save out of Leno, or a goal in the case of when they attacked in the 10th minute. They got a goal. Slightly against the run of play, Spurs broke quickly at the Arsenal back line. Lamela strike was completely blundered by Leno and left for Eriksen to tap in. 1-0, just like that, first blood to the Spurs. And despite Arsenal having much of the possession and buzzing around the Spurs box throughout the half, the actual decent opportunities in which Lloris was forced into a save were infrequent in that first half. And then Granit Xhaka came in with a Xhaka special, going to ground for absolutely no reason and taking out Son in the box, and Kane buried it. At this point, it felt like it could get ugly for Arsenal, but luckily, the doo-doo is most often the victim of unjust benching from Emery, absolutely sauced on the Spurs back line to make it 2-1. Brilliant control to get around Vertonghen, 6 smash into the roof of the net, and Arsenal really began to boss this match and carve out legitimate opportunities in the second half. Opportunities that eventually led to Aubameyang diverting the... no, not David Luiz. Wow, I can't believe I actually confused them based on their hair. Oh, man. He diverted Guendouzi's ball into the box, into the back of the net. Spurs just had no sort of structure to their play when they had possession, which was a massive credit to Emery. They were forced into becoming far too compact and inviting pressure while relying on the counter, but they were dying for Lucas Moura out there. They needed someone with that kind of speed in the attack. And by the way, you guys know more than anyone that I am ruthless when it comes to Lloris when he makes mistakes, but he made some damn good saves in this match. When he's on, incredible. Why the hell didn't Ceballos start? Next game. I can do that on my news desk. Liverpool continue their... This feels like evening news. Liverpool continue their perfect start to the campaign with a 3-0 win over Burnley, which is actually fairly impressive in a sense, as Burnley are a tricky team to break down at home and have started their season well. Gotta hold down Ashley Barnzinho, and they did. They held him down. He couldn't get any goals this time, that Barnzinho. Following this match, Andy Robertson said that Liverpool will be lost without Firmino, and it's become more and more evident as time goes on that he is in fact Liverpool's most important attacker. One of the most unselfish attackers you'll come across, as he set up Liverpool's second goal and scored their third himself. Unselfish is something that Mo Salah is not. Let's be honest. He'll take a strike at goal if he catches the scent of the goal on the breeze, even if he's on his weak foot and there are teammates in better positions, which drew the ire of Mane once he was substituted. Panels and pundits made a meal of Mane's actions, saying that there's a rift between him and Salah. I don't buy it. But there is a risk of one opening if Salah continues to be so selfish. Mind you, a word from Klopp and a word between Salah and Mane, and you'd think this will all blow over pretty easily. United, playing away to Southampton, started promisingly as Daniel James and his dream start with United continued, scoring his 3rd goal of the season after just 10 minutes, and what a banger it was. Absolutely lashed it into the top corner. No chance for Gunn. But the problems continue for United defensively despite investing in Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, as Vestergaard rose above Lindelof to head in the equalizer. I mean, conceding 1 goal isn't necessarily defensive problems, but I mean, he completely outjumped Lindelof. I guess United's main problem is in the attack, though, still. Their expected goals is higher, but they aren't scoring much. And this is despite Southampton going down a man in the 73rd minute, I believe. They still couldn't get it going. Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea. You are now seeing the difference that Eden Hazard makes. Mind you, we all knew that it would make a huge difference with him leaving. How he was the difference on so many occasions for them, like this past weekend where they drew 2-2 with Sheffield at home and were against it at times in the second half. He would have made a big difference there. But a big credit to Sheffield United, who had no fear in playing Chelsea, and after a Tammy Abraham first half brace, Chelsea clawed them back to 2-2. Kurt Zouma dealing the death blow to the 3 points with an unfortunate own goal, but just a tough start in his return to Chelsea, isn't it? Manchester City discarded of Brighton, tossed them aside with a 4-0 win, with which no one was surprised. Well, Bernardo may have been slightly surprised when he scored like 17 seconds after entering the pitch, though. And I was surprised to learn that Sergio Aguero, in scoring another brace, has scored with his last 7 shots that have been on target in the Premier League. That is lethal finishing. Also, Everton and Wolves played out to a 3-2 win for the hosts at Goodison, which was Everton's 7th consecutive Premier League win at home. A brace from Richarlison, and Iwobi scored his first for the Toffees. Happy day for him. And finally, Leicester got yet another win as they continue to linger around the upper echelons of the table as they added more hurt to Bournemouth's start. A 3-1 scoreline for the Foxes, but another goal for Harry Wilson. Still don't understand why Liverpool loaned him out. If a couple attackers go down injured, I guess they could recall him. Hey, that's it for the Prem. I'll start including the standings in a couple more match days, because right now, when you win, you could go from 19th to 8th. So it just seems kind of silly to even consider the standings at this point, you know? Next league, to Italy. Adrian's news desk in, am I right? Anyways, Juventus versus Napoli was a wild, wild ride. Another 7-goal thriller in which Napoli was involved. This time, however, they were on the wrong end of it. You know, it's funny, it could just be a coincidence, but me and many others thought that the arrival of Manolas to Napoli to partner Koulibaly would be massive for them, and that's not to say that it won't be, but early doors, their defensive partnership is taking some time to work. I mean, leaking 7 goals in your first 2 matches is a major bruh moment, especially the fashion in which they conceded that final goal. Whew, unlucky, but anyways, Juve. They were close to perfect in the first half, completely dominating with Higuain undressing Koulibaly after Danilo had finished off a devastating Juve counter. 2-0 at the half, and Ronaldo seemingly killed the game in the 62nd when he guided the ball into the corner with his left, but just like that, at 3-0 down, Napoli woke up, with Manolas making it 3-1 in the 66th, and 2 minutes later, new boy Hirving Lozano made it 3-2. The anxiety continued to build, and Juve's spotty defense continued to give up chances until Di Lorenzo got on the end of a free kick. 3-3, incredible comeback. Again, undone by Koulibaly mishitting a routine clearance into the top corner of his own goal. So 4-3 Juve. Super unfortunate for Napoli in destroying the good work that they put in. I mean, Juventus disappeared and completely cowered once Napoli started scoring. They weren't up for it at that point anymore, so to hand them the win like that, that's an ouch. I'm even doing like journalist hands. What's happening? As soon as I sit in this desk, I'm like a transformed man into 8 o'clock news. All right, another massive early season matchup saw the Rome derby kick off yesterday. And while it did end in a 1-1 final, it was extremely entertaining. 6 times the ball hit off the woodwork. Kolarov and Luigi Alberto weren't about that woodwork smacking nonsense though. You get points from goals even if you look steezy calling your shot off the crossbar. So the first Derby della Capitale ends odds even. Okay. Some Cagliari fans shamed themselves again with monkey chants towards Romelu Lukaku. Not even a year after the incident with Moise Kean from Juventus, and before that Salimatari, Matuidi got abused. What happens? Absolutely nothing, for the most part, as the FIGC turns a blind eye every single time this happens with these guys. There's clearly a racism problem among certain sects of fans across Italy, and it will never change unless there are some legitimate repercussions. Dock points. Make it real. Docking 10 points for racist chants could be the difference between a team like Cagliari staying up or getting demoted. So make the consequences real for them. But anyways, that was a weird intro to Inter versus Cagliari, but Inter won 2-1 thanks to an opener from Martinez and the penalty that Lukaku converted. 2 goals in 2 matches for for him. The other Milan boys took on Brescia at home on Saturday, one of only 2 matches on the Saturday, and a first half header from Çalhanoğlu was enough for them to get the win over Balotelli's new club. He's yet to feature for them though. Atalanta and Torino provided an extremely entertaining match for us. Atalanta are suiting up to play alongside Manchester City in the Champions League, and it was an extremely frustrating match for Atalanta playing at home. Torino fresh off the disappointment of not making it into the Europa League. I mean, the shooting stats in this one will paint a better picture for you than anything. 26 shots for Atalanta, 10 to Torino, and yet Torino still managed to get the 3-2 win away thanks to their keeper, Salvatore Sirigu, remember him? He made 7 saves while Baselli put in a masterclass in the midfield for Torino with a brace of assists. Zapata scored a brace for Atalanta, which is great to see, as there was always just a sliver of doubt in my mind as to whether he would be able to replicate his form from last season. That question, of course, hasn't been answered yet, but a brace in his second match is a positive. But hey, Torino, one of the 3 teams that have won both of their matches so far. Barcelona went away to the newly promoted Osasuna, and their front 3 wasn't exactly what the Barcelona fans had been dreaming of coming into the season, with Griezmann, Carlos Perez, and Rafinha. No shade on the latter 2, they just would never be starting if Suarez, Messi, and Dembele were healthy. And again, this match felt like another example of Barcelona's attack struggling to produce without Messi out there, and I was going to give them a pass for not being able to do so. I mean, they had 75% of the ball. Osasuna were just acquaintances with the ball in this one, really, you know? They weren't really buddies with the ball. Yet Osasuna generated twice the opportunities that Barcelona did. For example, with how little of the ball they had, they were still able to take 8 shots inside the box. Even with the injuries that they're dealing with, Barcelona undoubtedly has the stronger team and should be doing better than 2-2 away to the newly promoted Osasuna. I know what you're saying. Hey, Barcelona's attack worked in the last game, and I know that. I said this is another example of them struggling. Not that they always struggle without Messi. Okay, but bright spots for Barca. Sorry, I thought I ran over my mic cable. Arthur scoring his first goal for the club, and Ansu Fati, the 16-year-old who became the 3rd youngest player to score in La Liga. But yeah, a bad match from Barca. In the first half, they had 2 attempts, 0 on target. Valverde out, dog. Valencia showed that they aren't going down without a fight as they got their first win of the season at home to another promoted club, RCD Mallorca. It was an extremely even match though, as Mallorca continued to impress since their return to La Liga. And had it not been for Parejo converting 2 penalties, they could have stolen a point from the Mestalla. Atletico Madrid had a bit of a sloppy start at home against Eibar, going down 2-0 after just 19 minutes. That's how you get the rage out of El Cholo. But João Felix and Diego Costa's partnership up top looks like it could be a formidable one, as Diego squared to your favorite player, João Felix, in the 27th minute to give Atletico a lifeline. And when that happened, you kind of knew that the pendulum had swung, that the tides of war had swung in the opposite direction. Costa had 2 goals called back for offside in this game. One before Vitolo's equalizer, I think, in the 52nd minute, which is when Vitolo scored, and one after. And eventually, after pushing and pushing, Thomas Partey finally slipped through the back line and slammed the ball in to win the match. Cue Simeone sideline scenes as Atletico go 3 wins from 3, pulling ahead in the standings and making the most of the dropped points from both Barcelona and Madrid. Speaking of which, Real Madrid took on Villarreal at El Madrigal, and it was a fairly even competition for the most part. Villarreal took an early lead through Gerard Moreno, but following that, most of the attacking intent came from Real Madrid, who eventually found their equalizer on the stroke of halftime when Dani Carvajal set up a tap-in for Bale. Stunning goal, to be honest. The build-up was incredible from Casemiro, Hazard, and obviously Carvajal. Adrian put this in the North London derby. Real went ahead in the second, but that was indeed called back for offside, and in the ultimate betrayal from the football gods, Villarreal took the lead in the 74th minute, very much against the run of play. They were barely keeping their heads above water up to that point, but it wasn't to be for them, as Bale, again, the unwanted man for the last couple of seasons, latched onto Modric's through ball, cut inside, and slotted it in at the near post. 2-2 the final. Bale gets himself a cheeky little red card at the end of the match. So as alluded to earlier, Atletico is the only team in the league that have won all 3 matches, but behind them, Athletic Bilbao and Sevilla are making things interesting with 2 wins and a draw each. Of course, we're only 3 matches in. Germany. And Friday saw RB Leipzig go away to Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they continued their excellent play under Julian Nagelsmann. And just when I had said Yusuf Poulsen had turned himself into Leipzig's biggest threat, Timo Werner clearly watched that episode and put in a man-of-the-match performance and scored a bloody hat-trick. Leipzig changed their approach a bit in this one as Nagelsmann continues to tinker, this time employing something resembling more of a 4-4-2 with Werner and Poulsen up top. And again, by the way, Sabitzer is looking good. Sabitzer watch continues, you should watch Sabitzer. Big news out of Berlin. Union Berlin's first time in the Bundesliga has improved some more as they got a draw last week away to Augsburg, and on Saturday they defeated Borussia Dortmund 3-1. Possession, who needs it? Holding this microphone is pretty fun, actually. I might just hold it for the rest of this episode. So, Alcacer drew Dortmund level shortly after Butler had put Union ahead, and Dortmund were a bit unlucky to not take the lead right before the half when Weigl hit the post. But, I mean, that could have been a game changer. It wasn't, sadly for them. Shortly after the half, Union took the lead and held on, even adding a third goal following a corner in the 74th minute. This is the shit that I thought Dortmund wasn't going to do anymore, but still, clearly some problems persist in their defensive cleanliness. They have a little housekeeping to do themselves, to take care of, you know? Cleanliness is next to godliness, boys. Speaking of gods and footballing gods, your other favorite player, Alphonso Davies, grabbed his second ever Bundesliga goal in Bayern Munich's absolute beatdown of Mainz. You know when Mainz scored in the 6th minute, it was a bit of a false sunrise for them, and as new boys Benjamin Pavard and Ivan Perisic linked up for the equalizer before David Alaba put Bayern ahead before the half. 2-1 Bayern at that point. Then Pavard turned setup man for Perisic to make it 3-1, and Bayern could smell blood in the water. 6 goals, 6 different scorers. Mainz got fricked hard, leaking 4 goals in that second half. Yeah, fricked. No swears on this family-friendly channel, says the guy that just said an S word a second ago. Schalke got their first win of the season as Hertha Berlin came to town and were feeling very generous. The opening 2 goals for Schalke were kindly scored by Hertha Berlin themselves, including one for the FIFA 18 career mode legend Nicholas Stark, and another right after the half from Karim Rekic. Nothing like starting the second half, going in guns a-blazing, looking for that equalizer, and you score on yourself. Later though, Schalke got one of their own players on the score sheet with a Jonjo Kenny beauty from the edge of the box. Great interplay in the build-up. 3-0 Schalke. That's more like it, boys. This mic is surprisingly heavy. It's a big one. So, Gonzalo Paciencia, you know, the dude from Eintracht Frankfurt that loves a header. Well, he has a new attacking partner in former Sporting striker Bas Dost, who came on at the half to save the day against Fortuna Dusseldorf. Then, Paciencia himself scored the winner in the 86th minute, giving Frankfurt their second win of the nascent season. And guess what? Not a header. Paciencia, man, really developing into a solid striker. I like what I'm seeing. Portugal can always use a striker. Can't rely on Andre Silva. But we got João Felix and Ronaldo. Quick Liga NOS update for all of you out there who have expressed an interest, honestly, and I know I am a biased source, but this season in Portugal is shaping up to be insane because you have stuff like Sporting versus Rio Ave, where Sebastian Coates gives away not 1, not 2, but a hat-trick of penalties to Rio Ave, causing Sporting to lose 3-2. And he got himself sent off to boot. Then there's the new boys from Famalicão, who are in first place after 4 matches with 3 wins and a draw. Undefeated so far. They went away to Aves and won 3-2. Dude, there was a goal in the 100th minute, a red card. It's wild stuff. The Portuguese league is very lit. You want more evidence? Porto versus Guimarães. My guy from Vitória Guimarães, Edmund Tapsoba, gets a red card in the first minute of the game. The first minute, dude. Dooming his team to concede to Musa Marega, the pot-bellied assassin. The dude's Marega is looking good, bro. The thing about Vitória Guimarães, they love a red card. So they grabbed a second in the 78th minute, and Porto grabbed 2 more goals in the final, 5 minutes to win 3-0. Wild match. Still not entertained? How about Adel Taarabt putting in a midfield masterclass for Benfica and finally putting in the work that he should have throughout his career, which no doubt would have made him one of the top midfielders in the world. He can do it going forward, and he can play defensively. He did both in this game. Adel Taarabt and Pizzi helping to drive Benfica forward. Pizzi with the brace, Braga's defenders with a beautiful brace of own goals themselves. 4-0 Benfica, despite Lage refusing to bench Seferovic when everyone knows that he needs to be benched and Jota should be starting up top with RDT. Hell, or even Vinicius. I don't care who. Just get Seferovic on the bench. The dude needs some time to rest and look after his child. 4-0 Benfica, still not interested in the Portuguese league, one of the most dramatic and entertaining leagues in Europe? No? Your loss. Alright, that's it from this awkward filming location. I thank you guys for watching. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to tell me about how much you love Adel Taarabt. Otherwise, that's it. I love you, and I'll see you when I'm 4,000 kilometers east from here. Take care. Do you think that I should get a mic that I hold on to all the time? Because I feel more expressive when I have this in my hand. Anyways, bye.